Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bonus Points podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garrett, as always, being joined by Ollie Guy.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to you, Ollie. Welcome back to everyone watching. A bit of a weird one this week compared to the previous games we've done. Today we're going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, specifically the PlayStation 2 version. Well, that's what we played, at least, anyway.
Yeah, so this game, we're the 20th anniversary of this game this year. Came out.
Oh, is it?
2002, yeah, it came out in November. Panda X Let's Play told us on Twitter that it came out exactly the same month as the film. I don't remember the last time a licensed game came out, so I can't remember if that's unusual or not. Because I don't really.
That is super unusual. Apart from like mobile games, like normally, I mean, it might explain some aspects of the game, the quick development time, maybe.
Well, yeah, okay. And also, there was 5 versions of the game, 5 completely different games that all had this title: Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, PC, and PS1. And then the last version was GameCube, Xbox, PS2. Which is the one that we played.
Yeah, and even within like the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox versions, which you'd think are normally the same, there were differences. So, for example, on GameCube and Xbox, you couldn't land your broom anywhere you wanted. There was like specific landing points. Whereas on the version we played, the PS2 one, you can. So there are slight differences. Probably getting a bit ahead of ourselves a little bit here. So I feel like it's kind of annoying we're going to do this, but I feel like we really have to when talking about anything Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Is obviously like J.K. Rowling, her image has quite rightly gone a little bit downhill since when this game has been released. I just kind of... It's not going to be something we're going to be discussing in this podcast, but I just thought we should just make it very clear that we're both, fully against any of her transgender remarks. And we feel like even though we are talking about this world that she created, we're talking about the work that's been done by all of these developers and their hard work, where they've taken her world and done their own thing with it. And I feel like you can't just wipe everything off the face of the earth because there's been so many films and games and all the music and stuff which she didn't have much to do with. So is there anything you wanted to add to that, Ollie?
Just that if you do agree with her views, then don't watch our show.
yeah, and if you want to start an argument saying
just go away,
then we're not interested in that debate.
No.
Yeah, cool. That's right. So anyway, speaking of the people that worked on it, so the developers just marked as EA UK. I don't know. I couldn't see whether they were like previously were named something and were bought or what they've become.
I didn't look into that. I just looked at all the different names of all the different people that had like all the different companies that made all the different versions. But I do remember that this game came out around the same time, I think, as the Lord of the Rings PS2 games, which were the same developers and like kind of the same. So you can see quite a lot of similarities between them.
Especially some of this seemed to like be a bit before that. Some of the later Harry Potter games, because I just wanted to look up footage of them just to see how it evolved, and some of the later ones look much more like it. So they're more pulled out camera, more action based. They look very similar to those, because they're quite good Lord of the Rings games.
Yeah.
Do you know how many copies it sold?
This game, I've got no idea.
Can you just do a random guess?
You mean like the PS2, Xbox, GameCube version, or all versions?
I think it's all versions included, I believe.
All versions, I would say 16 million.
Okay, it's 9 million, which I thought was a lot, but now doesn't sound that impressive.
Well, across all consoles, it was on quite a lot of things.
Yeah, and this is I found it from Wikipedia, but their sources seem to be pretty correct. So it sold a lot of copies. I guess I should explain why I chose this game.
Please do.
So one, I've always had an interest in like licensed games that are like better than they should be. There's some other, I won't mention them now, but other games I've suggested to Ollie for the podcast in the future, but with the same thing, with kind of weird licensed games that kind of are better than they, you would expect them to be. And then I also like the idea of playing, because this game was played so widely, and a lot of people played it in their childhoods, a lot of people have nostalgia to it, and I kind of like the idea of we're playing a game and neither of us have played this before. We have no nostalgia to it. We're coming in fresh, but we can kind of like see like what parts people would have liked from their childhood. So I thought it would just be interesting and very different to anything else we've done on the show.
Do you have much Harry Potter nostalgia?
So yeah, I was kind of going to ask you that as well. I was kind of the perfect age for Harry Potter. I really liked like probably up from 1 to 4, and then I know they kind of got darker, but I kind of like as soon as I kind of got to like teenage years, my interest kind of drifted. I liked Harry Potter when they were like kids and they're going to school and don't get told off by the teacher. And then as soon as it got to like you got to get the Horcruxes and Voldemort's got an army and stuff, I just lost interest in it. How about you?
I saw the first 2 when they came out, and then I saw one of the later ones. Like there was one that was split into 2.
Yeah,
and I saw the first part of that in the cinema with James, and didn't ever see anything else.
So you never read the books?
No, too long.
Oh, okay.
Those big ones at the end. Oh my god! I was like, I'm not carrying that around with me.
The first Harry Potter book is the length of one potions lesson in the later books, basically. Okay, so it sounds like I was a bit more into it than you, but like it's weird because there's certain franchises. Like, say if someone says to me, "Are you like a Star Wars fan?" and I'm like, yeah, I quite like them, but I feel like if I say, I'm a Star Wars fan, they assume like, so you got all like the merchandise and you know all the lore and you've read the comics. Like, no, I just kind of enjoy it at a very base level, the same I would enjoy like anything else.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I was a Harry Potter fan, but it's not like a special place in my heart.
Do you own the Blu-rays? That's I think the carve.
No,
okay.
No,
that's the perfect amount that we now know how much you like it.
I've got a friend who shout out to Liam if he watches this, who keeps buying the books because they keep re-releasing them with different covers,
right?
And he buys them again, and I assume he reads them or just stores them. But he just keeps buying the books again and again. It's the same words, which is quite funny. So right, let's chat about the gameplay then.
Well, can we
just kind of go straight into it?
Just quickly go into the turmoil I went through to play this game.
Oh yeah, of course. Sure.
So I bought the game, as you can see. Here it is. But old PS2s like mine, fat ones, big fat PS2s, they've got a problem with the disc. So basically, if the disc is like this, so bluey, purpley, it means they can't run for some reason. So I looked into this, and apparently one of the things was that the disc didn't weigh enough. And that's why, because the weight is different. So I was like, what can I do to make it weigh more? And this is how I ended up with this, which is PS2 disc covered in plasters for the audio listeners. Because I was like, the weight of a plaster might be enough to weigh it down. So obviously I pushed it back in the PS2, and then
no way that worked.
Not only did it not work, the drawer got stuck, and in trying to pull the drawer out, oh god, I snapped the front of my PS2 off. So it doesn't work anyway. Is your PS2
I
don't know. I haven't tried anything else in it. So like I sourced a TV, I bought the game because my TV doesn't have a SCART input, so I had to find a special TV for it, which is in my hallway. It's massive. My flat's not very big. And then I broke my and I also bought something else I bought because I played it on PC in the end, is I got a PS2 controller converter so it could run on PC. But for some reason, the converter didn't recognise the shoulder buttons. So even that was a waste. So,
no.
So I emulated it.
The pain and hardship you went through for this. I know. It's so funny. I could understand it if you're trying to like play like Metal Gear Solid 2 or something. Yeah. But like you did this for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Like I emulated it, but I do legally own it, I guess. The plastered copy.
I think if any lawyer comes to you, you show them that disc and show the effort you went through to try and play it legally, they're not going to question you.
Yeah, or I'll be like, you work for J.K. Rowling, that's cool.
Oh, my mate.
That's cool.
Someone's saying what we're all thinking.
Good for you, man.
So I will say, so for mine, it was much smoother. I have the slim PS2, which was able to run it okay, and an old TV. So that's how I played most of it, on an old CRT TV. I also streamed a little bit, and when I captured it, I had to run it through like to HDMI like converter and then into an Elgato. And then when I did it, it did ruin the visual quality a bit and darken the image. So the reason I'm saying this is just for the footage you're seeing on screen now, what I saw on my old TV and playing it how it was meant to be played looked a bit brighter and just, a little less smeary. So don't judge it by the footage captured, but it's close enough.
Okay,
so,
nice.
The game looks beautiful, I promise.
You can always brighten it up. It might look a bit.
Oh yeah, no,
out,
I will, but I'll brighten it up. But it's when you're digitally brightening, you lose it a little bit. I'm just saying that, everything we're saying when we talk about the graphics, which I do think have held up quite well. It don't judge it by what you're seeing on screen.
Yeah.
Right then. So I guess like action adventure games, kind of how you describe the genre. I mean, do you want to kind of talk through like the opening and the setup for the game?
So the opening, you have a couple of linear levels you have to do where you have to help Ron's family out of a little gnome problem. It's like the opening area. And then because I was emulating it, obviously I had to like keep changing settings. So I played the opening quite a few times. So it's like burnt into my brain. So you do the gnome section, and then you do the car section with the Whomping Willow thing.
Yeah, the big tree.
But then just quickly rush through those, because the main part of the game is you go to Hogwarts and you kind of go to school during the day and go to classes in inverted commas during the day.
We get to that!
Yeah. And then at night...
I can't wait to talk to you about the lessons.
And then at night you sneak out to like be naughty and like try and uncover the mystery of Chamber of Secrets, but nobody really talks about it. So.
I think the way you kind of brushed over it also kind of is a good demonstration of because it's not you brushing over the game, it's kind of the game brushes over the story. It kind of just like it seems to be much more interested in being a Hogwarts simulator, and then we kind of got to put the Chamber of Secrets story in, and they've kind of just picked a few choice scenes, and kind of left out a bunch of characters that you would expect to be in places and they just aren't there, and stuff.
Dobby.
Yeah, Dobby's not in it. Gilderoy Lockhart has an appearance, but then like the whole final scene he's not in, and I
swear in the film there's the caretaker's cat gets petrified, right?
Yeah.
He's not even in it.
Filch's cat. Yeah, so it's not very close. And even when I think of that, like that story or that film for the second one, I always think of like rescuing Harry and then like the car bit, and I wish they managed to get some gameplay around that. Like when it went straight to like you're at the what's the name of their house? The Burrow. Is it the
Burrow? Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're at their house, like straight away, I was like, I wanted to see. Oh
yeah, because they lifted him out of the bedroom, didn't they? That ripped the bars off or something.
Yeah. Like he kind of goes straight to. And then they also have voiceover from Stephen Fry reading a few choice bits of narration, which I think because he also did the audiobooks, and I'm pretty sure they just lifted they got the license just to throw in bits he'd already recorded.
The only bit of the film I could remember before I started was the following the spiders.
Yeah.
And then as I was playing the game, I was like, oh yeah, now I remember like all these few things that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, the petrification thing, I was like, oh yeah, that was that film. Like, I knew it was one of them.
Yeah. That was actually one of my favourite moments when it kind of surprised me, is because I was kind of going through the motions and I just snuck off. You had to sneak off to the greenhouse to gather something. Then on the way back, you see one of the ghosts, nearly headless Nick, just there, and he's all petrified. And I was like, oh yeah, there's this story about to be told. That was kind of one of the first moments where it kind of I'm so going through the motions. I've got my little checklist. I got to go do this, and then it kind of surprised me with that. That was actually one of my favorite moments for the story.
Yeah.
But I guess we talk about like kind of the controls and kind of like how the spells work.
Yeah. So I basically spoke to friend of the show, Alice, about the spell learning system.
Yeah.
And she was talking about one of the older Harry Potter games. She was like, yeah, it was like a rhythm game. Like you learn the spell and then you like bind it to a button. And I was like, that is exactly how I would have done it if I was designing this game. So
explain what a standard Hogwarts lesson is like for the class in this game.
So you come into your class, your teacher's there, and they're like, "Ooh, today you're going to be learning Flipendo or whatever it is." And then they're like, "Okay, Harry Potter, just you, come here." And then they open a little hole in the wall. And they go, you got to crawl through there and fight for your life.
It makes me laugh the way they say so, like, it's such an established thing. They're like, go through the crawl space. They always say, oh yeah, all you need to do, go through the crawl space. As if that's a normal thing to do in a lesson where they then can't see you.
Oh, by the way, it's full of like actual fire and actual gargoyles and like little farting demons. Like all these things that are actually in there. So anyway, you do all that and then you pick up the book. and then you learn the spell and you can bind it to a button, which is all fair enough. But yeah, I did find the learning of the spells very bizarre. Also, there was a spell I never got.
Oh, really?
I had an empty slot at the end of my thing at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if I did. I think I got them all. Maybe I didn't. What was the last one you got? Was it the fire one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was probably missing one. Maybe if there's something else you can do secretly.
Yeah.
So yeah, because that's kind of the main bulk of the gameplay is those lessons and those dungeons. You know, they're almost like mini, more linear Zelda dungeons is kind of a good way I think to describe it. I think overall they were quite fun. Overall, like I kind of enjoyed them.
Yeah, I thought they were
Did
okay.
you?
I didn't think they were that great, really.
No, I don't think they were great.
They're fine. Do you know what I mean?
I enjoyed them. Like some more than others.
Yeah.
Like some of the. Yeah, so some of the puzzle ones were I kind of enjoyed more than the combat ones.
Yeah, there was one with the bookcase I liked. You had to push the bookcase back.
Oh yeah.
That one was good.
Cool.
The Incendio one was the hardest part of the game. Like, I couldn't do it in time because it was all like done on time, and I was like, the controls are just so wonky, I can't do it. So
yeah, so that is one of the downfalls. So once again, I feel like this is also going to be a thing coming up when we're talking about like old 3D games. But the camera is a bit of a pain because left analog sticks obviously move. Then right analog stick, you'd normally spin the camera, but if you move that, you kind of it just kind of moves the screen around a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you can press R1, which will make the camera face where Harry Potter's facing. But that's also what you use to lock on.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of times I'm trying to lock on to something, but then Harry was facing somewhere and the camera just spins round and you're kind of just trying to nudge Harry around to like face the right thing and lock on. Did you struggle with that as well?
Absolutely. What a nightmare that camera is. And also certain things can only be locked on from certain angles. Like you can only lock on from the side of one thing. And you're standing in front of it and you're like trying to lock on, it doesn't work. And it's just like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
And because of the way the camera is, I found myself walking off ledges, trying to like rotate. I'd like walk off the edge. That part in the Incendio dungeon where you have to light up the ring of torches. Yeah. That took me so long. Like I was just falling off. And like
So that bit didn't take me long, but there was a bit afterwards where there's these weird things you got to kind of set on fire and then you shoot them again. And then they lift up. And then there's basically just two things you need to shoot like with different spells in quick succession. Then there's also just random like torches in the middle which I'd already lit, but Harry will still just keep locking onto them, so I'm just trying to juggle to and that was another thing that I struggled with for a little while. Not because of like I worked out the puzzle immediately, it's not difficult, but it got to the point where I was like, oh, maybe I haven't worked out the puzzle because they wouldn't make it this awkward. Surely this isn't what I'm meant to be doing.
And you have to do it twice.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same on both sides. But as I say, overall, I did enjoy those dungeons. Would you have preferred if they tried to make it less of like a game and more like a simulator? When you're doing the lessons, do you want the class and you're sitting at a desk? And
I feel like they kind of half did both, and it would have been better if they'd fully done one. Because like I don't know. I'll tell you what it was that was really getting to me. It was Quidditch. Every time they were like, "We got a Quidditch match to do," I was like, "Oh no!"
Okay, this is the first point we're differing. I liked Quidditch.
I don't know if it was just the emulator, maybe that was like running it, but like the control was just way too oversensitive, and I was just like veering all over the place.
It is a bit twitchy.
I won every game, but I was just like getting hit by the massive like black ball thing, and I was like, nothing I can do, so I just get hit by it, and it's like, oh, that tuckle was so hard, both the wizards always fell off their brooms.
So I'll explain the way Quidditch works. So basically, because you're Harry Potter, you're the Seeker, which means you got to get the golden snitch, which is just you probably know what it is. So obviously that means you're not doing any passing or trying to score goals. All you're doing is trying to fly through hoops, basically, and then boost at the right time to then be faster than your opponent. And then there are like the bludgers balls to like dodge and stuff. So that's what you do. So it's super simple, but I think just like the excitement of like being in the stadium and then the music. The music is so good.
The music in this game is amazing.
Yeah, I mean throughout it's so good. I did a note of who the composer. So there's a guy called Jeremy Soule. He actually won a BAFTA for this soundtrack.
Oh wow!
And he also went on. He did a bunch of the Elder Scroll games and stuff as well. So obviously quite a revered producer of music.
He
and
was
I
way
think
too
throughout
good.
it's so good.
He was way too good for this game. The music was amazing. All the swelling orchestral songs were so good. I was just and also the graphics and the music were amazing. But then the gameplay, I think, was not up to snuff compared to
So speaking of the music, there's a bit which really drove home how much the music's above everything else. It was in the final battle against the Basilisk, the big snake.
Yeah.
And the music is epic. And then I died the first time I tried it. And then when I respawned, the music didn't play.
Oh,
and so I did that fight again. But all I had was Harry potting around and then Voldemort just going Ginny's dying, Harry, and no other sound effects. And I was like, oh my God, the first time I attempted this battle was quite epic, as far as this game can do. And I was when the music killed it, I was like, oh, it's only the music.
Yeah, the music's amazing.
That's the thing.
Doesn't it have someone singing over it? And it's
Yeah, someone was choir singing. And then also the music when you're free roaming around the castle on your broom. Did you do that?
I did do that. Yeah, I did.
And that song's amazing. Actually, I want to put. We have not done this before. I want to put a clip of just that song in, just because it's so good, just so the viewers can have a listen.
Yeah, the music. So the music, the graphics, obviously are of their time, but they're really good. The sense of scale is really good.
Character faces, which is one of the hardest things. They're a standout. Their expressions for the age are really good. And then the fact. I mean, I think one of the reasons why this game is remembered so fondly over other Harry Potter games is because it was the first one, and then a lot of other ones stopped doing this. That gave you just the castle to explore. Mm-hmm. As empty as some parts are. Did you enjoy that side of it, or was it just? Did you kind of mainline?
I did during the day. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it during the night.
All right, are we going on to stealth then?
Well, I mean, this game just saw MGS2 and was we could do that.
Yeah.
You can't. Even the camera changes.
I know. So I got to know. So it came out a year after Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay.
And then I assumed it had a short development cycle. And now you said it came out at the same time as the film.
Yeah.
I really think they took heavy inspiration, but that they weren't Konami.
Yeah, the sneaking around at night, what a pain that was, especially because the enemy positions didn't reset if you got spotted. So you'd come out a door, it'd be there's a guy at the top right of the room, I know to avoid him. You get spotted, you go back, but when you come back, he's at the bottom right of the room, he's right next to you, and you can't see him. So as soon as you step out, they're get back to your dormitory, Potter!
So the reason you're stealthing around is there's all the prefects, which is just other students. But they're where is he? I must have heard someone. They're get back to your dormitory, Potter! They're so angry. It's mate,
we're friends.
Chill out.
And they do what do they do? Loco Mortis. Loco Mortis.
I don't know. Harry Potter's just there, waving his arms, until they group. There's 5 of them, surround you, wagging their fingers all aggressively. So, and once again, for most of the game, as I say, you press R1 and the camera will whip behind you. For some reason, in most of the stealth sequences and a few other places, that stops being a thing. And I don't know why. It feels like they're doing it on purpose to force you to use the little peek around the corner thing, which is never actually useful. No. But I realized that a big reason why I didn't like the stealth at first, but managed to not find it as bad at the end, and that is because in the tutorial, they teach you how to sneak. They basically say, push slightly on the analog stick and you'll creep, and then they won't hear you. It's a lie. They don't hear you. If you sprint, they never hear you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
And as soon as I knew that, I would just sprint through it all. Or if you shoot a spell, they hear the spell and go to it.
They don't hear you. They don't hear you go, Flippente! They only hear the spell hitting the wall.
spell hitting, And then there's also balloons and stuff you can set off, but never really seem to be
I didn't do any of that.
Useful.
I didn't do any of that.
Yeah. So once I found out that they don't hear you, even though they try to pretend that they do, then I was okay, I can kind of just sprint through these and it's not as bad. But it should have been one stealth sequence, at most 2. They were pushing it with how much they made you do that.
There's 5, isn't there? There's 1 every night.
But and it's just any time at night, and then even a bit in Diagon Alley, there's a bit,
but I didn't understand, doesn't he have an invisibility cloak?
Yeah.
Where was that?
I mean, you can forgive them that.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean, they could have had 2 stealth sections, like where you go and get the cloak, and then after that you don't need to worry about it anymore. Because like,
yeah, no,
I was I found out you can only lose about 15 or 20 points if you keep getting spotted. So I was just
so you
running.
lose house points when you get spotted. But one of my favorite parts was there's the bit, so you take Polyjuice Potion and you can like basically make it so you look like one of like the Slytherins, Goyle.
Yeah.
And then you have to sneak around. But when you get caught, they take points away from Slytherin, and I just kept getting caught like on purpose. I was like, ha ha ha.
Yes. That cutscene where he transforms. His face is like melting. It's so good.
I was waiting because I was like, are they gonna cut away, or are they gonna commit to this? Are they gonna actually show him transform, or are they gonna cut to Hermione's right? And they went for it.
Then his voice, he does like Goyle's voice.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, hello, Draco."
The same voice actor. Sorry, let's chat about the voice acting a bit then. So it's very enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah, sensational. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah,
there were some excellent lines in it. My favourite guy was the guy in Diagon Alley who tells you about the there's like a flipendo power thing where you like shoot it and the bell shoots up, and he's the one that's like, "Oh, hello, only a perfect flipendo spell will set that off." But then I did it as he was saying it. He was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's a perfect flipendo spell." Like, absolutely no enthusiasm whatsoever. And also one of...
Do I get my money at the door or?
Yeah. I also really liked the voices of the 2 twins, the older brothers.
Oh yeah, Fred and George.
I like the way that they had to say the full name of Bertie Bott's every flavoured beans every time they said it. So, like, how much is this trading card? And they're like, that's 20 Bertie Bots every flavoured bean. And they're like, that one's 30 Bertie Bots.
And also, anytime you want to buy them, they're all the same price. Yeah, you can't just go and like look at them and it shows the price. You have to ask the price every time, and then then do you want to buy it? It's like, So you collect beans throughout the game. And it's super weird because it feels like there's not loads of places to get beans, but one of the places is bookcases.
Yeah.
And it seemed like almost every bookcase had beans in. But the animation's so slow to get them. I'm like, I've got whoever's been stashing these beans behind the books has given me an endless supply of them. I just can't be bothered to get them in any way.
I only went to the shop once. I bought some stink bombs and I forgot to ever use them. So
yeah, I went twice just because you can get like one of the things I got was a bigger bag to carry more beans. That's one of the things that I bought. But then you do get the wizard cards as well, which are like the main collectible, and they're hidden in some quite sneaky places. Did you know there's quite a lot of secrets hidden around the castle? Did you discover many of them?
I only saw the ones that were like when you're leaving somewhere and you're like, oh, I now have the power to do that, like cut down a tapestry. I'd be like, oh, I may as well do it. Now I'm standing here, but I didn't go and look.
Yeah, like I wasn't really going out my way, but I just wander in places. And there's times like, you know, I was checking a bookcase for beans.
Yeah.
And I was doing a little bean scout, and then I pressed to it to check for beans, but then there was just a really thin gap under the bookcase that Harry just suddenly crawled under, and there was a whole hidden area behind it. I was like, wow.
There's one of those by the shop, isn't there? Was it that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was just in a random corridor somewhere. I was like, oh, this is quite a good secret. I kept thinking like, if I was a kid playing this at school, I'd be so excited to go and tell my mates who were playing it, you know, to go like, oh, do you know about the secret bookcase thing? You know, like I kept thinking about how much I would have loved this game if I played it as a kid, and probably would have spent ages just flying around on my broomstick just trying to find stuff. Oh, actually, before I forget about it, there was a time when I was flying around on my broomstick and I landed in a courtyard, and Ron was there just standing there doing nothing.
Thinking about going to bed, probably.
Well, I went to speak to him and he just went like, oh, we should probably go in. And I was like... And I was like, what? And then I spoke to him again. He's like, let's go in, Harry. And I realized he was saying the voice lines as if we're about to do Quidditch practice. And he went I'd speak to him again. He'd be like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this. Let's go in. But then he's just standing there in this courtyard by himself. And it's just broken a fun way.
He needs to go to bed, that guy, because he was constantly saying how tired he was. Like, I think he says it like 5 or 6 times through the game where like, he came out to watch me do flying practice. at the beginning of the day, the only thing we did, and he was like, "Oh, I'm tired now, I'm off to bed." It's like, mate, you've watched me fly around for 2 minutes and you're knackered.
And then you go to class, you just sit around while I go for a crawl space for 20 minutes and then show back. They're like, "Oh, good job, Harry."
Yeah.
Whatever you did, I'm sure it was great.
Also, like, what was the deal with, they obviously didn't have the rights to the voice actors or the likenesses of the actors of the film, which is fine. Obviously, they can't spend money
because it's not based on the film, as we've got to remember.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
It's not based on the film, but for some reason, Snape and Hagrid are pretty much their film versions.
Yeah, I mean, the film versions were cast and put in makeup to match the book description.
Yeah, but the rest of them don't sound or look like the film. But, like, the guy sounds like Snape.
Yeah.
He does that same, like, "Oh, hello." Well, I don't know what Snape's voice is. What's it like? "Potter. Potter."
Going somewhere, Potter.
That's it. He sounds like that. And Hagrid was, like, beautiful. He was so nice and big.
He's enormous.
He's great, yeah. He was, like, so huge. I like that a lot.
Well, was there any other, like, standout moments in, like, just sections you really enjoyed? I like the spider area. I didn't know whether you liked the spider area. Like that, the boss fight with the spiders.
Yeah, I did.
I thought that was probably the best of that type of gameplay, like kind of combat and puzzly stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely the best of that.
And the music again, so good.
I remember the only dungeon that I was like, "Oh, this is really fun," was the bookcase one, because I also got a little bit stuck on that. So that was a bit like I had to actually think about it. Oh no, there was one. I can't remember what spell it was for, but you basically have to go into this room and then you push the false wall out, and then the false wall becomes a block.
Oh yeah.
And then you climb around. That one was pretty good. Although that Lumos spell doesn't really make sense to see cracks, because like when you hold the light up to it, the light's coming out the crack, and it's like, well, surely it would be going like it wouldn't work like that. And Harry's like, "Oh, it's so dark in here."
The thing when I was capturing the gameplay, it looked quite dark. I was just luminosing like everywhere. Yeah. So if you think in the footage, I just loved Lumos. It's just so I can see what I'm doing in like normal, brightly lit areas. Yeah. Like I think what it probably comes down to for a lot of these sections is just not enough time. It feels like they didn't have enough time for like play testing. There's so like it feels like the designers made a thing and they were like, "This is what you need to do," but didn't consider any of the other ways people might try to do it or could do it. Like I had bits like there's this bit where you had to push down like a platform to get to an area. And I did it, and I was in the air, and I was like, "Oh, where else do I go?" But it turned out there's another platform on the other side that you can push down, which just leads to the same area. And then you had to push both down, and then a gargoyle spawns. And I'm like, "Well, I'm already here. Like, why would I need to do?" Like, they obviously just thought push down both platforms, and it spawns. But there's nothing in the game set, and I feel like that would just, when doing play testing, one person would do what I did and get confused. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's just make it so it spawns when you put down one, or make a reason for both to go down."
Yeah, like the game seemed to be full of what would be really good ideas if they were like fine-tuned. Like the Quidditch was fun, like it could be really good, but it's just fine. And like the wizard battles are just fine. They could be really good. Like there's a lot of that going on in there.
Yeah, and it almost feels a bit like, as cool as it is to explore the castle, like so one of the things is they reuse this castle for other games, and I feel like they knew they were going to do that, and they were setting up there's a lot of areas that I go to and it'd be like, Filch's office I found, and it's just locked, and I was like, I mean, can you ever go in there? Like, or is it always locked, or is that just, is he going to be in the next game a bit more? Like it felt like, I reckon there was a lot cut from this game. I bet there's a lot more they wanted to do and didn't have time to do it in.
Well, I mean, also you got to think they had the books, right? So they knew what was coming. So they could plan ahead and make... Although I looked at some of the other games and they're completely different. Like, they're like cover shooters and...
Yeah, something like... So the straight up following up of this one looks very similar, but you can switch between which character you play. So you can play as like Hermione and stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise looks similar, but apparently is slightly worse. Like this one, I tried. Obviously, I'd never played any of these, but this is the one that like people seem to like most fondly. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the reason I chose this one. But yeah, it just felt like it needed probably a bit more time in the oven. Yeah. But like overall, I mean, did like forgetting like nostalgia or historical interest or anything, like did you enjoy your time like playing through the game?
Not really.
No?
No.
It
was one of those ones that like I dreaded playing.
Oh, really? Is it just because of like the camera and the stealth stuff, or was it just overall just this style of game?
I think it was just like the frustrations of the controls, like losing because of that, and then being like, you have to do it again and again and again, and the stealth, and it was like I really started to realize that at every point that they'd say we're going to do this thing, I'd be like, oh no, not again. Like, oh no, not stealth again. Oh no, not another class. Not another Quidditch match. Like, just please stop. Make it stop.
And it's a super short game as well. And the fact that you're like,
I think
do you know how many days it is? Like in-game days,
it's 5
which is
days,
your whole year.
5 days.
5 days. Yeah. That's the whole game.
We actually got quite a lot of comments, and I've missed them because a bit of behind the scenes. I've had to do a quick change of computer, and I've moved my laptop where I can't see it. But one that did come up, we were just talking about the castle. ACup001 on Twitter said, this game wasn't just a retelling of the movie for us back then. Many concepts from the game were integrated into our ideas of Hogwarts. For example, building Hogwarts from Lego, we used those 1x1 cylinders as beans, as they worked as currency for the kids. And then continued, this game was pretty much the gold standard for open world back then for the younger audience. We knew the world from the movie, so walking in the familiar places made them feel even larger, as if the game was using our imagination for its own benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's something you kind of forget about, because I feel like you never do that anymore. But like back in the day, our brains would have to fill in so many gaps.
Yeah.
And like we'd sort of like, I mean, I remember like the old Pokemon games, like you'd go to school and chat about what you did, and I went here and all this, and then you see what on screen, it's like 7 pixels or whatever.
Yeah,
but your imagination fills the gap. And I feel like now we're a bit older, it's probably harder for us to see it in that lens, as we would have as kids.
When you see a remaster, or whenever I see a remaster now, I'm like, that's what it looked like anyway. And then I go back and look at it,
and then you see the old one, you're like, no way.
I can't. I remember when Resident Evil 5 came out, I was like, graphics will never get better than this. Like, this is the best that graphics will ever get. And then I played it the other day after not playing it for a couple of years, and I was just like, oh god, like I can't believe it doesn't look bad. It definitely doesn't look bad, but I was like the smeary textures of that, and I was like, this is the best it's ever gonna look. Same with MGS2 actually on the PS2. Have you played that recently?
No. Well, I've played a HD, the PS3 like one.
Like I remember the cardboard boxes having like text all over them. Like they don't. They just have like a smear of like red.
MGS2, that still looks
good. It looks
though,
good.
Right?
It looks good, but it doesn't look as good as you remember. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Also, the cable, there was like a bit such tangent. There's a bit of some cabling on the desk, and it's just completely flat. It's like part of the texture. Yeah.
Oh well.
What can you do?
poor MGS2.
Yeah.
But as I was just saying, I think overall, like graphics is not a weak point for this game. They're using Unreal Engine, so it's nothing spectacular, but it does what it needs to do. I think rather than the graphics, one of the things that hurt exploration for me is the loading, which is I think another thing with these remasters you don't think about, where I'd be like, I could explore that room, but I'd have to load in and then load out again. Yeah. And the map isn't very good. It's just like a picture of the layout and just markers of where any doors are.
Yeah, it's just things. Yeah. Like, did you say? Yeah. I was watching a video about Harry Potter earlier on, and they were also saying the loading was really bad. So I was playing it on an SSD. So for me, it was pretty good.
Oh no! Okay, that probably helped you out then. I mean, it's not awful. Like it's not like I'll go put the kettle on while it loads. It's just that each load time would be about 20 to 25 seconds, but you're doing it quite regularly. So when you're going around the castle and it's like go down to the Great Hall, and it's like okay, I've got to go out the dormitory and then go to the grand staircase. And when it's those sections, that's when it's a bit laborious. But I will say, as bad as the map is in terms of like the menu map you bring up, the actual navigating Hogwarts I think it's done really smart. They simplified to basically the one big staircase and then the floors, and then when you get to the grounds, it kind of opens up a bit more. But I found like you just don't need the map. It's actually, you very quickly learn your way around Hogwarts, and I kind of just enjoyed them saying like, go to this room. I'm like, I know where that is, I saw that earlier, and just going there myself without needing to bring up the map or have waypoints. I quite liked.
And the room labels, the floor labels were super handy.
Yeah.
So you'd like associate like two rooms being next to each other as well. So you'd be like, oh, I know that's next to the girls' bathroom because that's where I hang out. No, that's not why. Because like it's right at the bottom of the screen, so you know to go.
I did actually go to the girls' bathroom before the story bit. I was just loitering, and I just went in there, and like Moaning Myrtle's there, and she has a unique voice line for when you're there, like before you should be, and stuff. And
I
was like, I saw the
Joseph Garrett, get out.
Yeah, not you again, naughty boy.
I was going to say something else. Oh yeah, the loading. Does it load between changing spells as well?
Yeah,
because it quickly flashed
very
up for
briefly.
Me. Yeah, and I was like, "There's no way that could be like
so."
A proper...
So that was a load. It's a short load time, but it was just enough to where you don't want a quick switch. Also, with the spells, we don't really talk about the spells too much. There's a few basic ones like Lumos and then Flipendo, which is just like anything forceful. Most the other spells really just came down to like opening doors or chests, and they were very interchangeable, weren't they? Really, so that was another bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, except for the Defendo, the one that you used to slice tapestries, came in quite handy in the wizard battling, because you could kind of. I didn't know if you were meant to be able to do that, or
like what did you do with it?
Did you not use it?
No, I just flipendoed for days.
Really? Okay, so what you can do is when you hit back your like the spell, and it, like a tennis, you hit it back like a tennis ball. When it flies back, if you defendo them, they go like this, and then the thing just hits them because they can't stop it. So you end up getting like 9 hits in a row really easily. That's how I got through the dueling, because I don't want to blame it on the emulator too much, but because it was emulated, doing things like hitting something back at the perfect time is not that easy to do. So I was really struggling until I googled like an easy technique, and it was flipendo them, and then they were like be all spaced out.
Well, it says the incinerate one. You mean not flipendo?
No, not flipendo. Sorry, no, defendo. Yeah. The cut one.
Yeah.
The cutting one is the what's it called? Defendo is the one that will make them like stumble.
Understandable why we're getting confused. Flipindo or flipondo? Some say flipendo, some say flipando.
Yeah, although I have heard them all about 300 times, so you think that they'd be burned into my memory.
They do shout it out every time you do it. And you can charge it up, and if you charge it slightly too long, he just falls on his bum or something.
Yeah, or like sets his arm on fire. Did you have that one?
Yeah, and he's like, oh dear. Oh, dear. Were there any comments about like the gameplay or the spells or anything?
We got some game general ones. So my laptop just turned off, basically. So I think we lost the video. Might be gone. The audio we have, but the video might be gone. This might be the first. If it's the first time you're seeing me, hello. I've been here the whole time. I actually been plagued with technical issues this evening. So that was
face reveal.
Yeah, that was just the latest one.
Yeah, so basically, we think with the video, I mean, you'll know whether there was video or not leading up until now. So yeah, apologies to that. We think we've diagnosed what the problem is. So fingers crossed going forward, things will improve. And just in everything bonus points in general, I think the tech we're hopefully kind of getting more on top of and working out how to do things. So we're not at the level we want to be yet, but every day we're taking a step closer.
Yeah, it's very gutting because if you didn't see the video, I did some great stuff. I was flipping around. I was doing flips. A
lot of miming of spells and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, well, that was it feels even more special that only I got to see your silly antics throughout this.
So where were we? We were just reading off comments, weren't we?
Yeah. So there was a comment about someone who was a big fan of this game and all of its varieties. If you can remember who that was from.
Andrew Carey, great game. Lots of nostalgia for this one, especially the PS2 version. was gutted the game broke at a certain point. That's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite guttering when things break partway through.
At a certain point, every time I tried to run it on the PS3, enjoyed this one on the Game Boy Color and PC too. Oh, good.
Maybe we should record this on a Game Boy Color rather than a PC then.
It might be a bit more like, stable. Oh my word. Right.
I mean, I guess for that comment, not to brush past it, like, that sounds really weird. Like, oh, why are you playing on these different platforms? But the game they were just different games on different platforms. So it's not like, if you like Harry Potter, why wouldn't you play them? It's not like you're playing the same thing again and again.
Yeah, especially as I think they came out every couple of years. So you were almost treated to a new game almost like COD, isn't it? Like an annual release.
Yeah.
We also got another general comment. Magic Mage from YouTube, so I wondered if they went to Hogwarts. They might have done. They just put PS2 Hagrid.
Well, I think it's PS1 Hagrid's the super famous one, isn't it?
PS2
where he's
Hagrid
just a big potato man.
He's like a pile of hay. But PS2 Hagrid is lovely, and I do love him. So
yeah, wish he had a more central role.
Yeah, although he has that weird cutscene where he's like giving you the key, like trying to tell you, but he doesn't. It's not entirely clear that he's telling you, what to do, but he is. It's a bit like.
Well, it's a bit like that in the books and the films though, because Dumbledore gives you like a clue, which is all very subtle, like anyone will find help if they find those who ask it or whatever.
Oh, right,
and Hagrid is like, and follow the spiders. That he's just like not subtle in any way. So I think that's kind of intentional.
Hagrid impression.
Oh no!
You made him sound like a pirate.
Follow the spiders. SpongeBob.
And I think we've got a couple of comments about voice acting. Just voice acting, lol.
My favorite is every time you get a bean, it'll be like another bean, like more beans, because that's just something like anyone that's repeated, it just kind of starts drilling into your brain a little bit.
Bertie Bott's every flavoured bean. Oh, the one I heard at the beginning loads of times was, "You look like you need a chocolate frog." I kept having to redo that opening section because it was like my computer. Oh, another computer problem.
Yeah, because you just randomly sent me that as a quote, and I was just like,
you know what it was,
and I was like, funny. What? And then you were like, oh, I've listened to it like 20 times or whatever. I was like, I think I listened to it once. Like, I haven't remembered that.
True. Right, you ready to list it?
Well, I think before we do, we both today watched the trailer for Hogwarts Legacy, which is kind of the an upcoming Harry Potter game, and. In many ways, I mean, what did you think of the trailer? What's like your reactions?
Well, I think everyone else can agree with me when I say, bloody hell, Harry. It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. It looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. But it looks like what this game wanted to be.
Yeah. I saw some clips of it in another video, and I thought it was a bit from the film, because the bit they showed was the horse and or the carriage flying over, and I was like, I don't remember that from any of the movies. And I was like, and then there was a bit with the Sorting Hat. And I was like, that looks a little bit too good to be a game, like an old game. So then I looked it up, and it looks amazing. Made by Avalanche.
And you're just there like, why did Joe pick this game rather than wait for that game to come out, and I could have played through that instead?
Why did Joe pick this game? Good question.
Well, what do you think is like the most modern day equivalent of a game like this?
Persona 5.
What was that? Sorry,
Persona 5.
Oh, Persona 5. What? Because it's in a school.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much gameplay. Like, in terms of this sort of gameplay...
It's got spells in it.
I know. I don't. God, I swear every week we upset a different, like, corner of the gaming community.
Oh, God. I guess there isn't really... Licensed games aren't really as much of a thing anymore as they used
to be. But not even,
be.
like, just this type of gameplay where it's kind of like a bit... I think, like, Skylanders is probably the last one I can think of, which is, like, a bit of platforming, mainly combat, bit of puzzles, you know. You just don't see it much anymore. No. It used to be, like... That was the big one, like, the main genre.
I mean, the actual gameplay loop is really clever and good. Like, you learn your spells during the day, and then at night when you're being crafty, you get to use them. Like, it's cool.
I would love a modern version of this. Yeah, I mean, the hang-ups that we spoke about were too damning to make it really fun, but I want a modern game of that style because they're just not really made anymore. Everything's just completely open world side mission-y, whereas that is, what we were always talking about, kind of that more contained open world. That's what I want. That's what I want. Should we list it?
Yeah. You could really see the Zelda influence, couldn't you?
Yeah,
even the grounds,
I kind of mentioned that.
Hyrule Field is like.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned a bit with like the dungeon areas. The lessons were very like mini Zelda dungeons.
Right. Okay. I'm ready. I'm on the list.
Yeah. Well, go on. Just do it then. I mean, we don't need a discussion this week, right?
That's where I'd put it.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay. Good. Onimusha's no longer at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yes.
God. I kind of wish I tried to argue it up above Onimusha just to hear what your points would be. Well, I guess we say so. Why are we putting it in its place 7 then?
I think that I was thinking about arguing about this list earlier on today, and I was like, I think this game has absolutely no value in 2022. Like, it has no artistic value. It has no gameplay value. Like, the music's good, but apart from that, it's a bit like that. Every single thing this game has been improved upon, and I don't feel like going back to this is worth it at all.
Yeah, it's a play. I think it's like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, to look back as a historical interest in terms of quite an impressive open world for the day and stuff. I think there's merit to it in its day, but going back to it now. Especially with some of the controls, there isn't much reason to go and play it unless you have nostalgia and played with it as a kid. I'll be honest, I was hoping it was going to be better than it was, but I realized it's because I just heard it mentioned in a few different places and like on podcasts and stuff about how great this game was, and I realized, they're all the people that played it as kids, and they've probably not played it recently, and they're describing their memory game, their rose-tinted glasses game, and I want to play that game, not the reality.
And also, when I was explaining it to my friends, like about the game, and they were all like laughing about it, and I was like, it is funny to talk about it, but when you're sitting there in the 5th hour playing it on your own, it's not funny. It's just like, this is awful, and I want it to end.
I think I was more I wasn't dreading playing it. I there was definite highs and lows. Like, I don't regret playing it. It sounds like you kind of almost regret. I think it was podcast aside.
Yeah, podcast aside, it was a waste of time. It's the only game on this list that I couldn't recommend to anyone.
Yeah.
In 2022.
I had enough interest and of just curiosity, and then enjoyed the music and some of those dungeon bits I quite enjoy. Like I said, like that spider section. Obviously, there's so many modern games that I could be having more fun with at the time, but I think I did enjoy it more than you. Yeah. But it's on the bottom of the list, and I think we're going to get used to seeing it at the bottom of the list for quite a while, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, God, and also one thing I didn't mention, but I was thinking all the way through, is that they had the funny voice actors. But every time they tried to make a joke, it was just an absolute clunker. It would just die on the screen. You're watching it it should be funny, but it's not. Why is it not funny?
You can understand what the joke was, but just the delivery and then the stiff animations and stuff. There were a few. The direction on some of the cutscenes was pretty decent with some of the camera cuts. There's one or two where they put a bit more polish into, and you could see what the game once again could have been with another year. But just it sold 9 million copies as it is. If they spend another year developing it, that's just wasted money for them. They're not going to sell more copies. You see why licensed games are at the level they're at, which is why I do like it when they're a team works super hard or gets a bit of extra time or money and gets to put out something special.
Well, what's that one that everyone loves? Chronicles of Riddick.
One of the early original Xbox games.
Yeah, but it's got it's one of the first HD Xbox games. The original Xbox, it would run in HD if you played that, which is pretty cool.
And then there's a remake for 360 as well.
All right, okay, nice. But yeah, in terms of licensed games, you don't really. They're pretty few. You get a running mobile game.
Yeah.
Harry Potter
you
Runner.
Get like a game based on, this new Hogwarts Legacy. It's a licensed game, but they're not rushing it out to meet a film. They're just making it. Or even you look back at GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye. It came out ages after the film, because they had time to make it. So it's when they try and do what this game did and match it. And I think considering that they were needing to rush it, I think they did a pretty good job. Better than I would do, I'd say.
But also the Hogwarts Legacy game. It's called Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Yeah.
It's made by the people that made the Mad Max game, which is also a really good licensed game.
Yeah. Oh, is that Avalanche?
It is Avalanche, yeah.
I didn't look at that. Okay.
But
cool.
the other thing I was going to say is that licensed games these days are so much fewer and further between because so many of the media properties we have now are already cross-media.
Yeah.
Like they already have a comic book, a film, a TV show. So when you get the licensed game, it's not like, oh, it's the game based on that one film.
It's like so the Guardians of the Galaxy game came out last year and was apparently, I've not played it, but apparently pretty decent. But it's like, but they're just making it within that universe and it doesn't really matter, In fact, it feels like we're more getting the other way now in films and TV shows based on games.
Yeah, so I read a thing the other day that they were saying that, they've mined nerd culture for comic books and it's been a massive hit. So video games is going to be next and you're starting to see it creep.
Oh yeah, I mean Sonic was a big hit, Detective Pikachu's a big hit, there's a lot down the road. Anyway, we're getting super off topic again, but that's fine. Should we chat about next game? So it's your choice next game.
Yes.
Do you want to announce what it will be?
So next time we will be playing Max Payne 3. It's on Xbox 360, it's backwards compatible. It's also on Steam. About 10 hours long. Definitely recommend.
Is it on PlayStation platforms?
PS3, but I mean, you can't really.
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky. But yeah, it is on PS3.
Okay, but so no PS4 backwards compat, I guess.
No. Recommend you get it, play along. Yeah, we'll talk about that in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. So that will be the next one coming up. Any comments that you have, either leave them as a comment on this video, or there'll be a tweet on the Bonus Points Twitter that you can reply to. And what's the social handles, Ollie?
At the Bonus Points. Shall I give you some extra work?
No. You can try.
You're not going to do it.
I'll put something else there, which would probably have taken more work, just as my defiance.
Hot dog. Or a Subway sandwich.
Max Payne diving with his guns out, horizontal.
I'll just put his guns in my hands.
Oh dear, no, I'm gonna have to do something there now. Also we're going to announce the after that we'll be having our next super secret special guest. They've already selected their game, which is going to be the 2016 remake of Ratchet and Clank, which is playable on the PS4. And it will be probably on PS5 as well, almost definitely, backwards compatible. So just to give you a heads up, if you don't want to play Max Payne 3, or if you just wanted more time to play this game, if it takes your interest, or if you've played it already, that will be coming up. So if you wanted a bit more time in order to play it, that is going to be the follow-up game.
That's also quite an interesting third-person shooter, opposite ends of the spectrum we've got.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but now I'm thinking,
What about older Harry Potter with his spells compared to Max Payne? Are we going to compare them? It's me, Hagrid!
Wait, what does he sound? He's like, oh, hello, Harry. That's what he sounds like, doesn't he?
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, there you go, yes.
I'm so bad with accents, I can only do them with direct quotes. I need to directly copy. I'm so bad otherwise. Anyway, that is going to be the end of this episode of the Bonus Points, unless there's anything else you need to say, Ollie. Get off your chest. Any confessions?
No, we're good. Just hope we get that video back.
Yeah. Fingers crossed we had it earlier on. If not, you got the audio, so hopefully, we'll be sorted for the next episode, which will be in 2 weeks from when this was uploaded. And of course, there's going to be best of threes stuck in between these. But apart from that, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.